Now, you have to see to what level the user will make use of the library system. Some will want to know only to manage 10 books or something like that, and then just to have a catalog of the books. And then in that case, there is no need to search a book. When you go to the bookshelf, you know your books, these are the books. So, is it worthwhile having a solution? So, if you try to come up with a solution like that, then you will find it difficult to defend that it is a medium scale project, because somebody can say this is a small project which needs only a lesser number of working hours to design something. But then if it involves some sort of a communication with the members who are borrowing, and looking at what are the new books and ordering based on the user patterns and various things, then you can expand the project. Although the librarian may tell, I want to store the books and know what has been borrowed, you can come up with new ideas to the librarian. Okay, I will use the same system and allow you to decide what should the new books to, how to order the new books to the library, and how to manage your accounts with respect to purchasing of libraries, or how to manage new catalogs or your dealers and things like that. So, you can integrate the system with suppliers, various cost related components, and expand it. So, the scope can be extended in many different ways. So, you should think about those aspects before actually starting the project, because if you think that the scope is limited, the flexibility is limited, then you are stepping into a dangerous zone, because the walls are closed and you can't go anywhere if you get stuck. But if you have some flexibility, then you know, even if you get stuck in a language, you know, I can change the language and go and do something else. So, you must have that flexibility when you start, so that you are more confident in achieving the required thing. Because another thing that can happen is, you select something, you say you selected a medical hospital system, and then the client say, I want to administer the clinical data, accounting data, laboratory data, the pharmacy data, or everything. Now, you go on doing this, and then find it not enough time to complete all before our deadline. Now,
so that means it's very important selecting a right project.
Yeah.
So, it should be useful for the client, and it should have a right scope.
Yeah.
And how do students know that they have selected their scope is enough?
Yeah.
So,
generally again the same guideline must be used, the 300 hours. Now, it is important that 300 hours doesn't mean that you spend 300 hours on the development. Development may be 100 hours roughly, because you need another 100 hours for the documentation. Then you may need 50 hours for the planning, analysis, and various things. So, for example, you spend like 100 hours or so, and then you think you are at this point. So, then you have to see, now for example, in the hospital system, you have implemented the clinical administration and the accounting part. You now want to do the laboratory one, then you know you have spent already 3 months for this. Now, only 2 months left, I have 2 more modules. Now, you have to see whether it's feasible to try solving the other 2 modules, although the client wanted. So, if you feel that it's not feasible, the best is to say, okay, these 2 modules are future development.
Right.
And then concentrate on the module you have already developed. And then try to do a thorough study on what you have done, and to try to convince the examiner that you have looked at all aspects of that and have various features. For example, some other things you may do to locate things, you can introduce some sort of barcode thing to easily track some sort of medical records, or some of the activities you may do. that is to introduce some for the existing procedure, some new ideas to improve certain things better. Now, at the end you have still one module working, but then these added things may help you to justify that you have done adequate work, because we look at all the things you have contributed towards the solution. So it can be an email alert or SMS alert, but it should be relevant with respect to the application. So sometimes maybe alerting the doctor that now your appointment is there, or your client, the patient has come, may be relevant for the situation. So some of the things you learn from various courses, you may not think as applicable when you gather the information, because the client will not know, never think of those type of things. But then if you study, analyze it further, you can get ideas how to expand it. So if the scope is not adequate, within that same thing you can easily expand, so that you can ultimately show adequate things at your examination point.
Dr. Gihan, the student has to submit the project proposal at the beginning of the year. So at that time they have to identify the scope. And sometimes students may have a doubt whether my project has enough scope to satisfy our requirements. So if they have any doubts, how they can clarify those things?
Yeah, now that's a good point. Now the first point of deadline is generally like after the first 3 months of after starting the academic year, we usually have a deadline to submit the project proposal, which will describe your project objective, the scope, the technologies you are going to use, how you expect to solve it, and things like that. Now, this is your first experience in going to this level of detail.
Yes.
So you may not know how to approach it, what you have come up with adequate or not. Now, the purpose of having a supervisor is to get some assistance on this line. Now, a supervisor is a person who has undergone this process before, as well as he is more matured and experienced in this area of ICT. So, for example, supervisor can be a university lecturer in another university, computer science lecturer may have experience because they would have supervised similar projects.
Right.
Or if you go to an industry, maybe the IT manager have supervised so many projects under him. So already knows the various steps, the complexity, problems people face,
yes,
and things like that. So you need to find a person who has that experience. Now that experience is something you can't get over a short period. Now you may have done your project, but it takes few years of experience for you to also appreciate and advise others. So generally you should look for someone who has experience of not just doing one project, but with more than that. And projects need not be IT based. Sometimes handling other type of projects are also okay if that person have some idea about the various stages and issues that undergo through a project sequence. Now, if the person is weak in the IT aspect, you have another problem, because ultimately you solving an IT solution. So you will have a communication gap as well. So sometimes what can be done is you can link with 2 individuals, one with some sort of IT